And just like that, welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. Thank you for hanging out with us with a little Season 111 playoff update. And look at this. I got two handsome characters live and in character right here on the screen. What's up, Bird? What's up, Nephi? Good to see you. We got our guy, Maniac, the commissioner of the Deuce, the OMFL, or the Grown Folks College League. So make sure you come check them out. Details down in the Discord. He's also our owner of the Buffalo Bills. And then another guy, Mr. Dwayne, kind of my right-hand man for umpteen years, is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys here in the OMFL. Both these guys still in the playoff. I'm sleeping at home trying to make my way in the toilet bowl. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. How you doing?
Good, Nate. Winding down.
Maniac's got the war paint on. He's ready to get this thing going. So let's do that. Let's just jump right into it and start talking about some playoff updates. I'm going to run this thing game by game. You tell me which ones that you want to talk about and give me a bit of a breakdown. Oh, I didn't even know. I did watch some of that game. That's right. We got some divisional round games already starting to take place. Let's start with the wild card round. We got the Seahawks and the Panthers coming down to a really close battle. My guy Bird said, hurry up, get this show going. I'm old and I got to get to bed. Well, Bird almost made it happen. We knew that Seattle could be had. Mr. Maniac proved that. Dwayne, I think you proved that this season. I think you beat him. Seattle getting a scrape by win against the just pesky Carolina Panthers, 21-19. A lot of good plays in this one, but it really came down to the Panthers winning the offensive rushing yards, the total yards, the offensive passing yards. What else we got here? Offensive first downs. We got punt returns. He was leading. Kick returns. He was leading. 0 turnover. Like, he did everything. I think he even won time of possession. He just couldn't quite win the game. Guys, what do you think about this game coming down to the wire?
Go ahead, Maniac.
Maniac, you said you go.
I can't
hear Maniac, so if he's going, I can't hear him.
Oh, no, that's not a thing. You guys can't hear each other. Why can you not hear each other?
He's not even on my screen over here on the.
Oh, no. Okay, then I'll do the sort of handoff thing here. I don't even know how, why you guys can't. I can see and hear both of you just fine. I don't know why y'all can't see and hear each other. Yeah, I don't even know what to do. There's nothing I can even do to fix that right now. Maybe that's that whole thing that popped up for both of you saying this is not supported. Well, Mr. Maniac, you go first and crack on this game, Seattle and Carolina.
Yeah, this game was really close. I mean, 21-19. Bird was in it. Despite his his struggles and record on the season, he had a strong end to the season getting into this game. And he played absolutely lights out with his team. I mean, he's underrated pretty much at every position, I think, compared to the Seahawks, and he just played lights out. I think the big stat here, though, was the pass rush of the Seahawks, able to Young on the ground 4 times in that game. If we know by a stat, it was probably more pressure than just that. So he was probably harassed a lot, but still going 68%, 13 of 19, 218 yards and a touchdown. He did throw the 1 pick, but when you look at that body of work, I mean, that's hard to say that, he had a bad game, because he fought tooth and nail for that, and it showed in the score. And it was just right there on the cusp for Bird there to make it happen. But those Seahawks, they're a stout team, and he's got good players at each position.
This is going to be so much fun relaying to each of you what each of you just ended up saying. But Mr. Maniac, Dwayne was just talking about how Bird was sacked 4 different times. That ends up being the sack of the game. Another one that I'd like to point out is the fact that Adam Thielen led this team, or this actual game, in receiving yards. But also look at the rushing yards. 37 for Zach Charbonnet, 32 for Walker, 31 for Hubbard, and then what looks like will be the offensive rookie of the year, Jonathan Brooks, 10 for 24. I mean, the Seattle defense showed up and just did a number on the Carolina Panthers. Dwayne, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, just hearing what you said, what Maniac said. The sacks are big one. That one turnover, you just can't, turn the ball over against a player like Meek and a team like the Seahawks. I mean, it seems like Bird did everything right. He shut down the running game. I mean, he really limited the Seahawks passing game. They're very explosive. They like to take vertical shots down the field. Metcalf, 49 yards. Lockett, 16 yards. Honestly, he had everything going for him. That one turnover and, like I said, the pressure from the Seahawks front four, that's just the difference. It's just when you play a team like Meek, or an owner like Meek, I'm sorry, that's all it takes is one mistake. And that's the difference between him upsetting the Seahawks and him going home early.
Absolutely, it is the difference in this game. Bird just said in chat that his user linebacker just did a number on his offense. Atlanta Falcons beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We talk about it often. It is true in the NFL and even more true, I think, in the OMFL. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a season.
That's right.
And the Atlanta Falcons squeak away with a 4-point victory, it's 5-point victory in this game. A weird score to kind of look at. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 field goals for the Tampa Bay offense. And this is an offense from Kevin that's used to being in the top 5 in points scored every single season. Dwayne, it's been many years now for you, not as many years for Maniac, but many years for you since you've been out of the NFC South. What'd you think about this game, though?
Well, the NFC South has always been a gauntlet. I mean, the NFC South, when I was there, when I left, it seemed like there's always some just crazy battles in that division. This one, it kind of reminds me of when me and Kevin played earlier this year. I think Kevin kind of presses and he starts leaning one way, and he did run the ball. He ran the ball 16 times this game. But you can see he didn't have a ton of success, and if he's not getting that instant gratification from running the ball, Kev will lean to that passing game.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see this one, I think that's what happened here. 5 sacks. He turned the ball over. That's just in a close game like this. That's the difference. And somebody like Hurt and the Falcons, he's too good of an owner. And if you get him a little bit of momentum, and I was trying to glance through his stuff real fast. He played real efficient. Robson, Algier didn't have just wonderful games, but they were enough that he could stay balanced, and I think that was the difference here. I think Kev just kind of fell back to what he likes to do since he was the Dolphins. I'm trying to think the teams he's been here, but he's always been a passing guru, and I think when all else fails, he feels like he falls back to that passing game, and it's really hit and miss. And in this game, Hurt really made him pay for it.
You'll have to go back and watch this stream after we're done. I don't know why the program we're using tonight to get video and audio is giving these two friends such a hard time. There's this weird deep voice that echoes every 4th word with you, Dwayne. I don't know why it's doing it, but it's not that bad and I can put up with it. Maniac, this is your old stomping grounds, your old team. A defensive battle between two teams I wouldn't have thought was going to have a defensive battle. Neither running back could get going. Penix was only 9 of 16. May was not much better. It's 12 of 23. What do you think about this game?
This game was really intriguing. Knowing these guys and how they play, looking at this, I think one of my predictions was this game was going to be like a 27-24, I think, some type of score. And knowing what type of offense that Kev produces. Now, I was looking through the player stats, and it looks like he may have missed the first extra point. So he went for 2 the next touchdown and then didn't make that. So that's the reason why he was kind of chasing his tail, I guess, the whole game. And so that can also affect some of your play calling as well, because, in that situation, you could maybe – go ahead and take a field goal and tie it up, where now you're 5 points now that you wasn't able to sustain. But overall, though, like you said, the defensive battle that just unfolded here is really phenomenal. And looking at each one's stats, it looks like A lot of the defensive players were making the tackles. And if you look at the tackles for loss, like between both teams, there is a ton of stats for tackles for loss. It's like they were living each other's backfield the whole game. And sacks were pretty dominant in this game. Didn't have a whole lot in the interception category, which I think the guys were maybe being a little bit more conservative, maybe trying not to make that big mistake. Being in the playoffs, that's kind of where a lot of owners look at, not to make the big mistake, but to keep the game within reach. But this type of setting, that one crucial interception can make the whole difference. And you see Big Hurt with Justin Simmons do that. And I will say that those Falcons, I ran with them last season. They made some good improvements on their roster in real life. So see that basically paying dividends here for Big Hurt as he's going through the playoffs.
We should have started this show off, but we got to celebrate our guy Maniac. Changed some diet things and lost 30 pounds. I'm proud of you. And you got to be proud of guys trying to take care of themselves and be healthy. All right, let's talk Chicago Bears, New York Giants. What I thought would be one of the closer games ended up being a close game. Two guys that flipped teams. We got a 24-21 victory for the Chicago Bears. One that I thought could end up looking similar to this, right? Both guys sort of figuring out the quarterback situations. Matter of fact, I think maybe the Giants, they bought over a quarterback, but who is I think technically a rookie. I know it says first year guy, but imports, it always gets a little wonky. A rookie in Caleb Williams, and you just never know what rookies are going to do. You can look at this one. Both guys under 55%, 53% for Caleb Williams, 45% for Givens. You can look at the rushing yards, better rushing than these other games, but still no one over 100 yards. So the defense really tightened up this offseason, this postseason here. Ndudze, 7 receptions for 97 yards. The defense, a bunch of guys getting tackles. O'Rourke, I love this guy. I had Bobby on my team one season, a couple Mads ago. 4 tackles for a loss, no sacks, no interceptions, but this guy was flying around the field making plays. Mr. Maniac, I want you to get started with this one. What did you think about the Bears beating the Giants in a 3-point victory?
This one was kind of looking at the stats there. You talk about the quarterback stats. This was very kind of uncharacteristic with Bill. It looked like he was flinging the ball around. And he only threw those 6 interceptions. You just don't see Bill doing that a whole lot. And his quarterback was harassed. 5 sacks for him. So the one stat I was really shocked to see was that Singletary, his running back, was carrying the team for the playoffs basically here. 12 carries with 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. But like you said, it seemed like the defense all of a sudden woke up in the playoffs. And I think we talked about that the last Press Pass Live, that it always seems like Madden, there's a little bit of a twist when you get to the playoffs and things play a little different than what you're used to. So it takes a little bit of maybe kind of tiptoeing into the waters of the playoffs when you get there and not going head first, because it does seem like it does change a little bit. But, man, kudos to both guys. It was a great game. And even if you look at that, throwing 6 interceptions and on only losing by 3 points, that just speaks of how well that Bill's defense played against that very talented Bears team.
That's one of 2 stats that stuck out to me. If you look at the other one here, half of every rusher's yards came on one play. So every single rusher in this game, half of their yards came on one play, which is crazy. And then exactly what Maniac just said, 6 interceptions and 5 sacks, and you still lose by 3 points. That's a gut wrencher. That's one that you go back and you watch the film. You're like, why could I just not have thrown 2 of these passes? I would have won. Mr. Wayne, that's something you don't do. That's almost like your calling card. You just refuse to turn the ball over. What did you think about this game with 9 interceptions?
Yeah, it hurts hard to see it. playing against both these guys for a long time. Bill, that's very uncharacteristic of Bill's playing style. We know Caldwell was slinging around for good or for worse, usually for way better than for worse. But like I look at these stats, it's almost like Bill decided to throw interceptions rather than punt. I was looking at his punter only kicked the ball one time. It's just, hey, I guess we just heave it downfield and we either get a pick or we convert.
That's a good set by you.
It's just so crazy looking at Bill. I know his guys got 78 of those yards from 2 runs, but it looked like he had everything going his way running the ball. And then if you go over the Bears, that's not really far-fetched. If Colin could run the ball, he's scary because he is so pass-oriented. And he got stopped running the ball, and that doesn't surprise me that he leaned back in a similar way that Kev does on passing the ball. But Bill, to only lose by 3 points like this, it's just really tough. I know Bill's been hit and miss all season, and even some games he's won. He'll tell you he's still trying to figure it out, and the playoffs is so tight. The margins are so slim for you to to mess up and to have turnovers. And the game like this, to only lose by 3 and have the amount of turnovers both these teams did is astounding. And but it was a good season by him and the Giants, and he has a lot to build with on that team, and he's got a lot of stuff to add to that team. But this is a very strange OMFL game, but another classic in a weird twisted way from 2 long-term owners here.
Hey, you didn't hear it, Maniac, of course, because you guys can't hear each other for some weird reason. But he said Bill decided to just throw interceptions instead of punt the ball with only 1 punt in the entire game. So that set up the divisional round of the Dallas Cowboys and Chicago Bears. I got to get a little sneak peek and watch a little bit of this one. Dwayne dominant again. And then the Seattle Seahawks against the Atlanta Falcons, which has not happened. We can kind of give a few little updated predictions. But before we do, let's go to the other side really quick and talk about the AFC side here. We've got the Cleveland Browns winning against the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore scoring 14 in the fourth quarter after being shut out the entire game to make this one a bit closer and a bit tighter. But Little Koch coming away. I'm sorry, not Little Koch. Golly, I did it again. It's the first season, so I get a little mercy and grace. But Mr. Denbrew getting things rolling here in the AFC. We know what happens when Denbrew gets rolling. A big-time victory over Nipples, who, if we give him a hard time for being unplugged and not being here, we got to give him his kudos. Got to give him his flowers. He was plugged in this season for a majority of it. He made a nice little run. This one really came down to the quarterback play. Mr. Denbrew in Nowak, his quarterback, was 15 of 16 with 1 sack, 1 touchdown. Jackson, on the other hand, 12 of 26, 1 touchdown with 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. Some pretty decent running, at least when you consider it to the rest of the games that happened this postseason. Stephon Diggs with 4 receptions on the day. A lot of guys. Again, a defensive battle. Even though this score was a bit more inflated than the others, this is a defensive battle. Mr. D. Wayne, I'm coming to you for the first one. What'd you think about the Cleveland Browns with a big victory over the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of this one, and the Browns were in control most of this game. The Ravens, tried to make a game move in the fourth quarter, but Denver just kind of set the tone this game. And if you just kind of look at the stats, with his, very conservative, almost near perfect passing by the Browns. Lamar was trying to figure things out. Obviously, he got sacked 4 times. You look at the rushing yards. To me, it's a big telltale here. The Browns didn't have real great. What's that? 23 for 86 yards, but he just kept churning. Kept making 3 or 4 yards a time. And you go over to the Ravens, who are, theologically built around the run. Outside of a 70-yard run, he got stopped all day long. I mean, you're talking about 9 rushes on the team. And I'm sure if you look at the box score, he was down 20-0, 23-0 going to the fourth quarter. But that just tells the tale. Denbrough gets ahead. He's such a smart player. He kind of takes you out of your game. In this instance, he took Nipples and the Ravens out of their game, and he made him play his game, and he didn't make Denver put the ball in the air and didn't make him risk anything. And that's just how you win the playoffs. You win ugly games, and by the ugly, I mean you just let the other guy take him out of his game style. You played pretty conservative, as you can tell Denver did, and you talk about Nipples, and the Ravens are always so scary. It's unpredictable which nipple you're going to get, no pun intended. But he's still a great owner, and as long as he stays plugged in, that Ravens team is going to be scary. But you got to applaud Denbrew here for getting this early playoff victory.
What's up, Cincy Bird? Good to see you. You never know what nipples you're going to get. Boy, there's a statement for about half these young men in this league. Mr. Maniac, you have played both of these guys at different times. Both can be powerhouses, but once again, as the theme has been for a lot of these early games in the playoffs, we've got a pretty good defensive battle in this game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was distracted by the nipple. That's
what Mr. Dwayne said. He said, you never know what nipple you'll get, man.
I think Denbrew is secretly a Browns fan, man, because he has done better with the Browns in the playoffs than on the field.
That's fair.
Done with the Bengals. So that's kind of an interesting stat, I guess, an undercard stat. Yeah, definitely looking at this game, Denbrew. He was super efficient with his quarterback. I think this is probably the best we've seen out of any of the quarterbacks so far. 15 to 16, 93% completion. He was definitely taking care of the ball. He was not going to be making a mistake in this game. And we kind of saw that from him, I guess a little bit uncharacteristic from Denbrew, but the last, I guess, few seasons prior to this, he would seem like he would kind of go on this air out the ball type offense in the playoffs and just kind of fall apart there and not exactly just lose the game extremely bad, but he'd always just seemed like lose it at the end, type of thing. And but this one is just definitely more towards the ground and pound. And even if you look at the stats here, Chubb and Ford, they weren't just setting the world on fire, but man, he got those tough yards. Both guys are about 3.5 to 4 yards a carry. So he was just kind of playing the short game, really. If you look at even his wide receiver stats, not a whole lot going deep downfield, a lot of short routes, intermediate routes, and stuff like that. But looking at that paid off. And Nibble he is a tough competitor. I played him with his Ravens this season. I haven't played Denver yet this season, but I know from the game I played with Nipples, it was a fight to the end in that game. So definitely doesn't surprise me though with this one, and especially we're at the last. He's kind of made a game out of it, and Nipples can do that. If he gets kind of rolling, he can get on a scoring a trend, and he can catch back up in the game pretty quickly. I think if he can keep this team together, I think Nips, and if he can keep I think his team's roster is looking pretty good for the next season. But kudos to Denver and the Browns. Definitely played a great game. Like I said, he was playing kind of a short game, and it paid off for him.
This feels sort of anti what I've experienced with Denver. Of course, I met him in OMFL Bowl 100 or whatever that was, and he was like the high-flying offense, and then he'd make some plays on defense. And I know I've said this a lot, and so people are probably sick of hearing it, but the originator, the forefather of this offense is right here on this show in D. Wayne. The Ravens out-rushed, gained yards, out-passed, and out total yards gained, and I think not time of possession, all over the Browns, and still lost this game. He basically owned it, and yet Nowak went 15 of 16. That is such a Dwayne stat if I've ever seen one in my entire life. You just want to reach through the screen and slap the other guy. God dang it, you were perfect. How? And just he ran the ball, he played great defense, harassed Jackson, caused a couple key turnovers, and just was able to keep the Ravens out of the end zone until late in that one. So big time victory for the Cleveland Browns. The Denver Broncos fall to his buddy, the Las Vegas Raiders, 28-30. This is the score-wise, the opposite of what we've been seeing. 17 points for the Vegas Raiders. It still doesn't roll off the tongue for me in the second quarter, but Denver making quite the run there in the fourth quarter with a 14-point victory or 14-point quarter to get that game really, really close. It was going to be the 3 extra points, though, or the 3 field goals, the 2 golly words, 2 field goals for 6 extra points in the fourth quarter that gave Vegas the victory here. A big-time game between 2 guys who know each other really, really well and 2 quarterbacks who played pretty good in this one. Mr. Maniac, we're going to go for you. What do you think about the Vegas Raiders? God, it just doesn't roll off. It doesn't flow. The Vegas Raiders beating the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't roll off. See, I'm starting now.
See, it's contagious.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue very, very easy. Yeah, the Raiders. I think this is one of those games. Again, we had a lot of. This is a third-time matchup, and I think if I remember right from the season, I could be wrong, but I think the Broncos took the season. I think that's the reason why he won the division, because he took both games against the Raiders, and the Raiders just came out in that second quarter and just looked like it just hit them in the mouth. I mean, it is like. And you look at his stats. I mean, that the import quarterback was like phenomenal. 12 of 17, 70%. And was only sacked once, so his offensive line was definitely working really well for him. He did have the 1 pick. They both had picks, but I think where you see the difference with the Raiders is a lot of their yards came from on the ground, and they were able to establish that running game. What little bit that I was able to watch of this game, it seems like there was a point like in that second quarter and then late in the game, it seems like he was popping off 6-yard runs every time he handed the ball off. And White, his running back from Georgia, his stats don't really speak of being a dominant running back, but I've seen this guy several times. He just seems like he has enough speed to get away from guys. He's real slippery around the offensive line, and you just can't seem to get him down. And again, 13 carries, 92 yards, 7.1 yards a carry. He's just very efficient with that running game. And then his backups were getting plenty of carries as well. Madison was kind of his power back, and then Dowdle is kind of his extra to go back, whatever. It's kind of similar to White, so it plays really good in his scheme. And then he plays off of that, and he'll catch you with a play action pass, or so you've got to be really on your toes, because once they start establishing that run, watch out. Here comes the play action pass. So Bowers, he is definitely somebody you got to keep an eye on. He's got all the tools. He's kind of like a Pitts type of tight end. But yeah, he spreads the ball around pretty efficiently. All the guys get involved, and it's kind of hard to key on one guy. I think on his defense, he's really got. He doesn't really have a lot of superstars, I think, on defense, but he plays really good team defense with his guys, and I don't think I think that's the reason why he's not like really superior on defense, but he plays enough good defense that he keeps his team in the game, and he's going to be a good player going in the rest of this playoff.
Well, he's going to have a hell of a matchup coming up next round. D-Wayne, what do you think about this one? This one feels very D-Wayne-esque, really great quarterback play by the Raiders, and Walther dominating the run game, playing good defense, and making a couple of plays here and there. Just a lot of points scored in this one. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, a lot of points is what you think when you think about this rivalry, which is honestly, this might be the oldest rivalry I know here. I think these two guys have always been these two teams for
That's a good point.
I mean, like 8 or 9 Maddens now that I've been here. These two guys have been rivals, and He just played a dominating game, which is Vegas was really good. If you remember a while back, I can't remember the running back they had, but they had a really good running back a few Maddens ago. And when he had that player, he was really dominant when he could complement his passing game, because both these guys were known for their passing attacks. And this just showed right here. I think Maniac kind of said it. I found a way to kind of sneak listen to him. And he was just talking about how he was just turning like 6 yards a carry. And that's worse than having somebody hit 70 yards on you at one time, just to get 8 on all game long. And he did it with 3 separate backs, just chewing you 3 different ways. And then he was protective with the ball. He did turn the ball over one time, but if you just look at the stats, he just dominated time of possession. He had over 20 first downs. He turned the ball over less, and that's just a recipe for success in the playoffs. Glaze has got a young team. He's got a young quarterback. I think he'll only get better. That AFC West is going to be a dangerous division. All those owners are great owners. Jay Bowles should enjoy this one. I mean, these guys have battled for years and years, and this is another one they can put in their book. And this time Jay Bowles comes out and advances, and it's a good recipe for him to carry to the next round if he wants to keep on playing.
Yeah, he's going to have a heck of a matchup. But we got the Jaguars. I think, not shocking anybody, but the dominance of this victory kind of caught my eye. 28-14 win over the Miami Dolphins. They really did kind of own just about everything you could own. Offensive yards, rushing yards, passing yards, first down, punt yards, total yards. Looks like he won the turnover battle. He didn't have any time of possession. He really dominated from start to finish in this. Trevor Lawrence with 3 touchdowns. Duke, no touchdowns, but the 1 interception. Both guys over 64% completion percentage. ETN, our first 100-yard rusher. What's up, Randy? Our first 100-yard rusher in this game. Everybody else were kind of like gashing plays throughout this game. A lot of tight ends kind of leading in receiving yards this playoffs. I've kind of picked up on that little common thread here. And then defensively, a bunch of guys making plays. Jordan Brooks just flying across the field, making plays everywhere he can. Joshua Hines-Allen getting to Mr. Duke almost 2 times. And then the 1 interception from Mr. Marshawn Lattimore, which, golly, he didn't do any of that for me. Mr. D. Wayne, we're going to start with you on this one. Jaguars with a really good establishing win here in the playoffs, the wild card weekend, against a Dolphins team that can put up points with just about anybody.
Yeah, you might double check on this one. For some reason, I thought he played Massimo's computer. I'm not 100% certain.
No, really?
But I could be wrong. I'm not sure if I can double check that right now.
Yeah, he is saying it's a CPU game. Are you agreeing, okay, Maniac? Is that what it was?
And it's not to take away. Sometimes the computer in this league can kick some ass. And
we're not doing it.
Take a win. You got to take a win any way you can take it.
Yeah, we're not going to cover the game. I didn't know that. How did Massimo miss the playoffs?
I can't remember. I actually think Bill tipped me off to this one in the scheduling chat.
I'm not sure what happened.
Props to our scheduling king.
Dang, man. That sucks to have a playoff game where you got to have a CPU. Well, Massimo, man, get back there next year. That would have been a really good matchup. Either way, kudos to the Jaguars, but we're not going to break down a CPU game. That's going to be a waste of time. So that set up the Bills. They're going to be hosting the Raiders. Mr. Maniac, when's that game going to happen?
Right now, we've got it set for Wednesday evening, I think around 7 o'clock, I think, that night.
Nice. That'd be a good one. And then you got the Browns and the Jaguars. Jaguars, you got a free pass this past week, but that's not going to get a free pass this week. You better bring in your extra pads and buckle up the extra chin straps because you're going to need it. Let's go talk about the one game that is done in the divisional round. We'll do some updates about any games that you guys might want to break down or give me some extra. I don't know why I'm doing the Donald Trump hand thing all of a sudden, but we'll do the game here with D. Wayne and Mr. Collins. Then we'll go open up the OMFL mailbag. Mr. D. Wayne, I'm going to let you go second to talk about your own game. Mr. Maniac, you're going to help me get this one going. This might be a potential OMFL matchup team that you got coming here. Dallas just dominant from start to finish. I watched this one. I don't even remember exactly when this happened. Sometime in the third quarter, Chicago goes, they have a nice drive. They score a touchdown, kick it off, and God darn it, Dwayne scores on the kickoff. And I'm like, that makes you just want to go, hey, I quit. Okay, I'm just going to call it. I don't want to finish this game. Like, clearly, this isn't going to happen for me. It is just a heart-wrenching, like, God darn it. I just fought to get back in it, and Dwayne just put his foot right there on the neck. Dallas dominant from start to finish in this one. 70% completion percentage for Prescott. We talk about that all the time. Caleb Williams, not too bad. 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception, 54% completion percentage. He did pass the ball 44 times. That's never going to be good against Dwayne. Chance McMullen, though, 11 carries, 168 yards. Oh, God, it just ripped my heart out, please. Moore and Odunze had really great games, but Lamb still averaged 14.7 yards per reception. And then the defense, this is just where Dwayne shines, man. It's where he does it all. A lot of guys getting all over the field. Mr. Kim Brahma, still hate his name. 8 tackles on the day. Sack leader in Sam Williams. Not a lot of tackles for loss. A couple guys got in the backfield, but not what you normally see in these type of games. Dallas just flexing his muscles here with a big victory. Dwayne, you're going to go second on this one. Mr. Maniac, what'd you think about this game?
I watched that play. Like you said, Colin,
I turned it off after. I was like, I can't even, I feel bad. I can't even watch after that.
He drove down the field. Yeah, it was like one of those perfect drives where you're like eating up the clock, like 11-play drive or something like that. And he kicks a field goal. He's feeling good, kicks it off. And I'm like, as Dwayne was getting the ball, I'm like, they are parting like the Red Sea for him already. And I was like, oh my goodness. I've yet to return one in Madden yet. So I'm all like, man, I'm kind of jealous. But yeah, it was one of those games that kind of like you kind of knew like how things were going after that, but I give it to Colin, man. He kept fighting, kept clawing all the way through. He really played great with his quarterback. He did have the one pick, and in these type of games, like Dwayne has said, and I have said, sometimes those one instances where you kind of let your judgment lapse or whatever, it can cost you in the end. So it's like one of those things when you're trying to call your way back into the game. McMullen, though, this dude's a beast. He is an absolute beast. 11 carries, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a long of 55. I think I don't know if it actually says like how many long runs he had, but I know I at least watched a couple that were like 15, 20 yards. It's just like he just slips through the hole and he's gone. He's just kind of. And when you got that type of running game, it's hard as an owner when you're on defense because you're doing all you can. And then when you think you got the run corralled, all of a sudden here comes the pass, and it's it's really tough. But that's the way the game is played, and that's what guys try to set up. This one guy right here that I have to look at for Colin, his rookie, Rome Odunze. Odunze, okay. That's the Texan hick coming out of me. So, this guy's going to be a star in this league for a long time. And this game was just one of those games. Like I said, it kind of gets away from you. You feel the kind of momentum. But kudos again to Colin for a great playoff run, and he did more than what a lot of us said that he would do. With this team, I think when we started this Madden, we all like, he's going to have to get some pieces to be able to compete. Man, he got second round of the playoffs and played really well. As for the Dallas Cowboys, and I got a cat over here. It's like yelling, "Pay attention to me, pet me." But the Cowboys again was my pick to represent the NFC, and he's not leaving any doubt in my mind right now at this point that he will be representing the NFC in the OMFL.
It's so hard. Like you have the less team. You're trying to build them up. You hang in there for most of this game against the top Dallas Cowboys. You hold every running back except for one under 3 yards a carry. You give up no touchdowns through the air. Then you get to the end of the game and it's like, oh, he didn't miss a pass. He gashed me for 160 yards. He averaged 15.3 yards per carry. You're just like, I hate this guy. I just want to bash my own forehead in with my own controller. This is freaking death by 1,000 paper cuts and then one big slice to the gut as my guts just pour out and he laughs at me. It's just like, golly. Dwayne, a dominant victory against a very good Chicago Bears team. How'd that one feel?
It was a fluky one. I thought Colin probably played the better game. I caught him a few times on just a blitz. You know how that is. If a blitz doesn't get home on a run and you just hit the wrong gap and the running back hits the other gap, there's just nobody left. And that's kind of how a couple of those long runs went. And then when Colin would answer back, you know, for whatever reason, he told me he was kicking full strength and he was getting it about, 10 yards past that line. And I told him, I'm just running up the middle, and sometimes they block good, sometimes they don't, and twice they blocked good today. So, I'll take what you can get against Colin. He's playing with, a kind of a rebuilding Bears team in a way, but he played really good. Williams, actually, he had to pass a lot more than he wanted to. He kind of gave up the run a little bit early. That's just kind of my recipe. I prefer to shut the run down and make you pass the ball, and Colin is one of those owners who can beat you doing that way. I mean, if you look at his team, he's young. He's got a cheap young quarterback who's already really good, some cheap young receivers. He just couldn't catch a break. Madden just didn't have in the cards for him today when you let somebody have 14 points on kickoffs. But it was a good game, and I think the Bears are a team to be reckoned with going forward this cycle.
Wait a minute. I didn't understand that. You had 2 kickoff return touchdowns?
2.
No, I would have quit. I'd just be like, I'll lose my team. I'm not, oh God, I would have beat a cat. That's what I would have done, Maniac. I'd have just kicked a cat across the room. That is brutal. Well, congratulations on the big victory. So Dallas is moving on to the NFC Championship. He will face either the Atlanta Falcons or the Seattle Seahawks. I think that's going to be a great game one way or the other. Both those teams are going to have to battle and get there. On the other side, we got Buffalo and the Raiders. They're going to be going at it on Wednesday. We got the Browns and the Jaguars. I'm sort of leaning towards the Browns in that one only because sort of that CPU game can maybe like squash the confidence, and then you get in there with a real guy and you're like, oh, okay, it didn't play like it did whenever I beat the CPU. Any of these games, we've already done our prediction show, but any of these games that you guys want to give some ideas about or wanted to talk about before we open up the mailbag?
Yeah, if Maniac will give me the floor, I'll talk about one.
Maniac, he's going to, Mr. Wayne's going to talk. I keep forgetting you guys can't hear each other.
Yeah, I think that Bills and Raiders game, I know Maniac, I wouldn't want him to talk about his own game, but I think that's going to be a very interesting game. You're talking about Maniac and the Bills have been rolling all season. He's the only 13-win team that says he hadn't figured the game out all year. And he just keeps winning games, and he's got the players in place and a great quarterback and a very good defense of the Buffalo Bills. And he's going to go against the Jay Bowles team, who I'm interested to see if he comes out and sticks with that run and grind and tries to play that way, or does he fall back into the Jay Bowles of old, where he'll start airing it out if he can't run the ball early in the game. I think that'll be a great game. I can't remember which time you said they'll start, but I think if anybody OMFL or non-OMFL or looking to be an OMFL wants to watch a game of 2 long-term or long-time OMFL owners, I think that'll be a great game that I don't know if we've seen these 2 match up in the playoffs in a long time.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think that's going to be a really good game. Maniac, he was talking about your game against the Raiders coming up. Maniac, I know you were here whenever we did the full show, but any games you want to talk about?
Yeah, I would talk about the Browns and the Jaguars. I think Fleury has had a phenomenal season, and obviously, having the CPU game and winning that and get to this round is. Yeah, it's a CPU game, but he still had to go in and beat that. Sometimes CPU can be crazy, so really kudos to him. But Denver, I think right now, he's kind of he's kind of in a groove right now, and when Denver gets in a groove, I'll get it out here. And that's a tough competitor. And I think it's going to be a really good game. I think we're going to see a lot of defense and running the ball, I think, in this game as well, because both have been pretty good at running. I think the Jaguars this season were one of the top 5 rushing teams in the league. But I also think the Browns are one of the top 5 to 8 defensive rushing teams. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be whoever, I know this is kind of cliche, but whoever commits the least amount of turnovers is going to be the one that's going to win this game. But I do think it's going to be one to tune in. And just to kind of just touch on my game with J Bows, I think it's going to be, for one, me being one of the participants in it, I've got to stop his run. His run is one of the craziest things I've seen. Like I said, White, you look at his stats, you don't think that this guy's going to be a dominant rusher. But with his line and the way that he actually calls the plays, it just gels real well with him. So I've got to be on my toes in this one. I got to play my game. It should be a good one. I'm hoping it's a good one. I hope it's an entertaining one, because a blowout either way just never is fun for the other owner. So I definitely want to see it be a great game. That's one that guys can tune in and watch and have fun and enjoy it while it's going on.
I think that Atlanta Falcons and Seattle Seahawks game could be just an instant classic. Both teams played really good defense in the first round, and we know that quarterback in White can be really efficient, whereas the quarterback with the Atlanta Falcons is still sort of being the rookie, still trying to figure it out, still trying to get the pieces together. So that's a team that has playmakers on both sides. Atlanta is going to make the Seattle Seahawks wide receivers earn it. It's not going to be easy for them. And on the other side, it's going to be tough for them to get Bijan Robinson going against that Seattle Seahawks vaunted front seven, as well as that passing game. I think you might see some tight ends play a big role in definitely some big-time plays. Let's open up the mailbag before we get out of here. There's some sort of deep questions here. I got to be honest, some of these I will not have great answers on, but we'll see. Mr. Beal says, do you expect any big-name player movement in free agency this offseason? Mr. D. Wayne, I want to start with you on this one. You're our free agent guru. You close out all the threads whenever we get past the in-game free agent portion. You expect any big names to get moving?
I think it's going to be mostly older players this first year, just glancing around, looking at some of these teams and looking at who they signed, who they didn't sign, years left on contracts. I honestly think year 2 and year 3 is going to be where guys see kind of, I say young, but prime players that are really good hit the market. Some of these contracts just explode in year 2 and year 3. Guys won't be able to keep these teams together. I think this first year, guys will try to scrape together and at least keep their cores together. Unless you see some of these guys use incentives and cut some people. If I was the guys going this off season, I would be very hesitant about signing some of these older guys to long-term deals. Because they're not going to age very well. And I do think year 2 and year 3 are going to be where guys can kind of build a good core. If you're a player or two away, to sign a veteran guy at a certain position, hey, I would go for it. If you think that's what's going to put you over the top or put you over the next step, I just wouldn't go into this all season thinking you're going to spend $60, $70 million of cap room and it pay off for more than a season or two. Unless some crazy people get cut that I don't see right now.
I 100% agree with you, Wayne. I think it is going to be older players, and we're a season or two away from seeing sort of big name free agents. Mr. Maniac, do you think there are going to be any big names that are going to be moving?
I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of older guys that are kind of on the cusp. Just like, for instance, like me, Von Miller, unless he retires, he's probably going to be on the street. He'll still be serviceable and probably better than some guys have on their roster. But again, like when you're trying to build a roster to be something that can last a whole cycle, you got to make those tough decisions. Yeah, I probably really don't want to get rid of him, but with the bonus cut and be able to cut him and stuff, it's going to bring a lot of salary cap relief relief to my team that I can use and spread around. So I think there will be some of those players, and this is kind of like pointing at Priest a little bit, because we know how Priest goes crazy sometimes on those free agents. Seem like those older guys that are like 32 or something, and he'll spend like all the money on them and stuff. And yeah, it may not hurt you too bad, but some of these guys, they'll seem like they last for several years. Like they don't want to give up the NFL or OMFL or whatever, So so you do have to be kind of careful how you spend your money, because if you're kind of crazy with it, it can definitely bite you in like season 3, and then it's hard to recoup the rest of that cycle.
I 100% agree with both of you. And again, I think this first season, guys have used their incentives, kind of done their thing to be able to keep a lot of their young players. But here soon, guys are going to have to start making some decisions. Bill says, which positions do you think has the deepest talent pool in the upcoming draft class? So that everyone knows how it's handled, I do completely random order of up to 5 positions, both good and bad. So from 1 to 5 positions, get a good boost. 1 to 5 positions, get a bad boost. Total random numbers. It tells me how many of the positions, and then I do a randomizer of what positions. And then honestly, I wipe my brain of it. I couldn't tell you who I set. It's been so much has happened in the OMFL and in my life, I don't even remember. You will, just again, to stay on the up and up, you will see me go in and make sure all the player names do not give us the little asterisks, and the player names are spelled correctly. People just have to trust, and I think I have a draft record showing that I don't cheat, I don't look, I don't pick through numbers, I don't take screenshots. I really just go in there, look at names, and then move on with my life. And life is too short to try to cheat at the draft. Plus, why? Like, it's such a stupid thing to try to do. But anyway, I got to be honest, I haven't even looked at the draft, even though I got the number 1 draft pick. I'm so sick of my season that I just had. Do you guys, have you noticed any positions? You're both deep in the playoffs. Have you even looked at the drafts yet?
Go ahead, Maniac.
Oh, Maniac, you go. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I got to pick one. Maniac, you go.
I'm just kind of tippy-toed in.
No, you did good.
I think the quarterbacks maybe not real deep. I think you're going to have to, if you're going to get a quarterback, you're going to have to be looking pretty early.
Like the number 1 pick?
My top thing scouted. So, but anyway, yeah, I think there may be like 4 or 5 quarterbacks that may be serviceable. The rest of them, you better buyer beware. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Wayne, what do you think about the draft? Any positions you think are deep?
Well, just like I said, quick glance. I'm not always the biggest draft. I enjoy the draft, but I'm always willing to my phone's always open to hear about my draft picks. I think receiver, but I think receiver's such an easy one, because I think some of these guys that aren't even top receivers, if they have the right set of skills, can be great in the hands of some of these owners here. But I thought receiver is a good one, and I thought the offensive line. I think offensive line is a weak spot for a lot of teams. And I think offensive line, just across the board, left tackle to right tackle, and all in between, I think guys will be able to fill some roster spots out this year. And some of these offensive lines can get built up a little bit. And so I would go with receiver and offensive line as a strength. And I did listen to Maniac a little bit say about the quarterback, and I do agree with that one. I think there's a couple good, like, set in stone, really good, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, really good cornerstone pieces, and I think there's some ones there that guys maybe can build or develop, but I don't think that's the strength per se in this draft.
Bird, I'm not answering your first question. Just not, so that doesn't count. But Bird's second question, which non-playoff team do you think is just an offseason away from turning it around and winning their division? Now, winning their division is a new sort of like little change to that. And so let's pull up some teams here. And Mr. Wayne, I'm going to start with you on this one. Any teams that you think are just one offseason away from being able to turn it around and win their division?
So win their division, that is an interesting take on it. That didn't make the playoffs. I think an easy one would probably be somebody like Kobe and the Titans. I think Bronco Man and the Colts are a good choice. If I had to say one that would win the division, that makes it a little tougher. But I want to go with one. I want to say Shocks with Kansas City.
Okay.
And I think he has the players in place. He has a quarterback. He has a speedster and Worthy. He kind of has some aging players that he's going to have to phase out and replace. But I think that will put some money back in his pocket where he can build around. But he's got an elite quarterback that is paid elite money. But Shocks has shown he can be a great user with that quarterback and use him how he should be used. When somebody like me that might be overpaying for how I would use a quarterback. And I think the Chiefs are one after the Broncos and Raiders have had such good seasons. Not to take away from them, I just think the Chiefs underachieved a little bit this year, and I think they bounce back, and I think there's a good chance that they win that division next year with Mahomes, with Worthy, and with some pieces he can put around them. I think Shocks is a great owner, and I think he's one who could surprise and win that division.
I like the Chiefs. I like the Cardinals. I like the Chargers. Those could be teams. Now, would it be cheating to say the 49ers? I mean, that's sort of cheating. That's a little cheating there. My team would be the Cincinnati Bengals. He went 9-8. That was with a 5-game losing streak to close out the season. I think the Bengals could have one solid offseason ahead of him and really get things turned around, and that would be a really fun division. Mr. Maniac, who would be the one or two teams that you think could turn things around with one good offseason?
I think looking at the divisions, you look at the Colts. I think the Colts are probably a kind of a shoe-in. I think he kind of started figuring out some things at the end a little bit. Maybe another surprise one, and not so much a surprise, but I think maybe Tim is going to be another one. A team with the Lions. I think his team's really young. It took him a little bit to figure things out. He ended the season on a 5-game win streak, and so the rest of the games in the front of the season, he only won 2 games out of all those. So really played phenomenal football at the end. So I think he's one that you have to watch. Nice Songer and the Vikings. He played
I agree with
well.
that one. Yeah.
So I think the NFC North will be really competitive. But I think like the no-brainer is the Colts. I think he's going to get things figured out. I think he'll be really competing for that division. And then, like you said, Denver's kind of like, not Denver, but D-Money's kind of like cheating when you bring that name in and stuff. But I think in the South, I know you won't give yourself credit, but your team really, if you look at the overalls of the teams when you're selecting teams, your team is pretty weak. And so I think with this draft coming up, and if you have you're able to pick up some decent maybe young free agents, I think you're primed to actually make a run in this division. Yeah, I know you've struggled some, but I do think that you have the ability to be a lot more competitive. I think this next season also with those Saints, man.
Yeah, struggling some is being crazy kind to me for no reason, because I do not deserve that. Next question of the remaining teams from our guy Randy. Which team do you think wins it all? I think it's a little unfair because neither one of you will pick yourselves. So I'll go first, and then I'll let you guys pick some other team that probably won't win it all. If I had to pick one team, and it was like bet the house, it's all going to go on it. There's a lot of teams that are like picking at my heart here. My gut says Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's my gut. My gut says Dallas. But there's something that happens when we get in these NFC championship games, and I don't know, man. My guy Wayne, he just sort of, he's like, I don't know if I care anymore. And I'm like, well, the 49ers aren't in this one, so maybe he'll care about this one. But the Seahawks, that's going to just be a classic game. I think the Seahawks, if he makes it, if he gets past Atlanta, will become sort of that like young up-and-coming team that's challenging the guy that's always been there. So I think that might pull out the competitive juices. I will still go with D. Wayne. You can't argue with the Seahawks. You couldn't argue with the Buffalo Bills. You couldn't argue with the Atlanta Falcons. Hell, you can't argue with Denver, who's been there 100 times, like, and already won season 100 way back when. So I think any of those teams would be a really smart choice. Now, you both tell me, why you're not picking yourselves. Go, Dwayne.
I think you hit on the mark with Meek with that one. I do think Meek is your up and comer, and if you remember a cycle or two back or last cycle, the second or third season, he might have given me the biggest ass whooping I've ever got in the playoffs was Meek. And when he's on his game, Meek is obviously he plays the machine twice a season. I think it's just good practice for him, and he's such a scary player to play. But if I had a sleeper, it would be the Raiders because I think Jay Bowles, when he's confident, is super scary.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Big Hurt. And I say that because Big Hurt's been here before. I think Big Hurt's actually been to almost the championship once, maybe, or twice.
I think he's won one, but I think
contender.
he's been to two, yeah.
And that Atlanta Falcons team is just loaded offensively. And I think if Hurt, like this game right here, if he can beat the Seahawks, he's already got momentum rolling in his way. He's got a quarterback there that I think he's going to build with. He's got weapons galore. This is his – in my opinion, and this is even if he had to play me next round, I think this is his biggest hurdle right here because the Seahawks, which did lose a huge play, they lost Kenneth Walker in the playoffs. He's gone. And so I think he's going to change his game plan up a little bit, but he's so scary. I think if the Falcons, this is their biggest obstacle right here, and I think if he wins this one, he would be my pick to win the OMFL Bowl.
Mr. Maniac, Dwayne's trying to sell me on the Atlanta Falcons. He doesn't have to sell super hard because I believe in Big Hurt, but there's no way the Seahawks are his biggest challenge. You get past the Seahawks and get awarded with the Dallas Cowboys, yeah, good luck with that one, buddy. Mr. Maniac, who's your pick to win it all?
Well, my prediction was Dwayne, and I'm still not moving away from that. I just want to say I want to thank Baby D-Money for providing a distraction to keep D-Money out of the playoffs. So we're going to have to send that baby some
We'll send him a
diapers.
little trophy.
So this is the most, I guess, anticipated fun in the playoffs, because like a lot of times it's just kind of like, oh, D-Money's here, kind of thing. But, nothing against D-Money. He's a great guy.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, none of us are friends with him.
But I think, if you look at all these guys, whoever's up here, any one of these that could win it, but my money is going on Dwayne. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons, again, make a run. And even the Browns, I think, are really kind of the dark horse, dangerous team in the AFC that, may not be talking a lot about. And it wouldn't be surprising if we see the Browns and the Falcons in the OMFL Bowl. That would be kind of unique in itself. So, but that's taking away nothing from Meek Boy or J Bowles or Fleury or any of these guys. It's just, that's just kind of the way it could turn out or could be. But I'm going all the way with the Cowboys. I think Dwayne's kind of got this mojo thing going right now with his team. In fact, I think Dwayne needs to send Dak a video of how to throw the ball so that way he can use that as a studying tool or something. So.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's not a bad idea. Big Hurts asking a question that we've already covered, so we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. I do like his second question. Big Hurt trying to get them incentive points here down before this is due. He says, which non-playoff team this year makes the playoffs next year? So not, wins it all, but makes the playoffs in both NFC and AFC. AFC for me has got to be the Tennessee Titans. Kobe is too good of an owner not to get that team turned around in the AFC. For the NFC, I think it's a bit of a toss-up. I like the Vikings. I like the Lions. I like the Cardinals. I'm going to take the 49ers off the plate. Like, that just feels like a lazy answer. Give me the Vikings. But Vikings, Lions, one of those two teams I think are going to easily make the playoffs. Let's go with you, Mr. Maniac. Which your one AFC, your one NFC team to make the playoffs?
My surprise I could really go either way with the AFC, but I'm going to throw this one out. Lost sniper in the Patriots. I think he's prime with that
I like
quarterback. He played my last game I played against him. He played a phenomenal game. I mean, I had to get out of Dodge with a get out of jail card pretty much there against him because man, he was playing lights out with that quarterback. And so, give me the Patriots on the AFC side. On the NFC side, I'll take the Lions. I think that's one of the ones. Like I said, he ended the season on a 5-game win streak. Kind of started getting things rolling, and his team is young enough. Even if he didn't have a draft pick, I think he would be able to keep his team pretty much together and be able to compete. And so, but he's got a good draft pick. Obviously, he's going to be picking somewhere in the top 10, 15, whatever like that. So he'll have good draft picks, and then you add that to that young team already. He's going to be a force, I think, there in the NFC North.
Mr. D. Wayne, one NFC, one AFC team that did not make the playoffs that will at least make the playoffs.
My NFC team is going to be Joker and the Cardinals. He's in such a tough division, but I think and I know that, D-Money this year, he was really distracted, had a new child, and was tied up and was busy. But I will say that 49ers team is completely different when you have Purdy and that throwing power, and I think it really limited him offensively. And as we all know, the defense is so hit and miss so far this Madden cycle that he couldn't really rely on it, even with his superstar committee of cornerbacks. I'll go with Joker. He's just battle tested. He gets the Seahawks, 49ers, and the Rams. 6 games in a season. I think he surprises some people and gets the wild card spot. I don't think he can come out of that division as a division winner per se, but I could see him getting 10 or 11 wins with maybe his losses only being in that NFC West. And if we go to the AFC, I got to go with the Steelers. And I say that is Penguins.
I like that.
That's his team. He's got to get some guys in place, but he gave me a loss this season. He played a hell of a game, and I didn't watch a lot of his games this year, but I was really shocked, towards the end of the season to see his record. And I just don't see that happening again. I think Penguins will figure it out. I think he'll get his guys in place. He's got Fields, who, is probably a better Madden quarterback than a real-life quarterback, but he's a perfect Madden quarterback coming from a guy who had him last cycle. And I think that'll be who I think he'll surprise that division. I think, all it takes is for Denver to slip up a little bit and Little Costa to slip up, or maybe Nipples take a cruise or something like that. And next thing you know, Pittsburgh's in there.
I really like those picks. What's the one team that did make the playoffs, AFC, NFC, that won't make the playoffs next year? I'm going to go ahead and take the Miami Dolphins. I think they've got a little bit more to kind of build and get ready. And I think you're also going to see other teams in that division begin to get their teams built and play much, much better. And then I'm just picking on the amount of teams, not the teams, but the NFC South. I don't see them getting 3 teams in there again next season. And so I'm just going to take the lowest seed in the Carolina Panthers, even though I think he can make me eat those words. I can see Tampa Bay maybe falling out. I have a hard time thinking another division is going to get 3 teams in, with the 49ers being back in the running, right? The Cardinals improving, the NFC North starting to get better. I think it's just going to be hard to get 3 teams in. I think all 3 of those teams, Falcons, Carolina, Tampa Bay, all going to win 10, 11, 12 games. So I just think that it's just going to be tough to get into the playoffs. Mr. D. Wayne, we're going to start with you and then go to Maniac, who are the one team AFC, one team NFC that made the playoffs that won't make it next year.
Yeah, you kind of read my mind with your NFC South, because having 3 teams come out, that's really tough year in and year out. To switch it up a little bit, I have to go with Colin here, and this is not a shot at Colin. It's just a shot at how competitive that division has become. Yeah. If you look at that NFC North, I mean, even Priest kind of stumbled down the stretch, but Tim and Neisinger, I'm saying his name right when I say that right? Yep. Tim, and Priest are breathing down the Bears' neck, and if you just look at just a quick glance at their stuff, Colin was at 10-7 was minus 60 in point differential, which is kind of crazy. And then you look at Priest, who is plus 80 in point differential and didn't win that division. And I think Colin won some games he probably shouldn't have won, and I know there's probably some big game differentials that made that look really bad. I just think that division's going to be so tough, and those guys, we've seen Tim figure it out. He's with his team. We've seen Priest. As long as he, stays out of his own way, he can win with that team. And that Vikings team looked really good this year and won some games that I don't think guys thought they were going to win. I hope Colin don't use that as bulletin board material against me, but I think that division is so competitive, and the NFC is just so loaded. I don't see you getting two teams out of there. So one team's got to win that division, and I think that's the one I'm going to go with. And then if we go with the AFC, I have to go with, and I love him. He's my second favorite nipple behind my wife's. But I have to go with the Ravens. Are not going to make it. I just think something might come up. He might miss a game or two, and I think that division is too deep to miss a game or two. I think the Browns, like I said, are going to stay on what they're doing. I think Luke Hodge and the Bengals are going to turn up, and I've already said that I think the Steelers make the playoffs next year. I just don't think he can afford to slip up with that team. And if something comes up, either work-wise, travel-wise, he misses 2 or 3 games, that division's wide open. And by the time he comes back, it might be too late. So I'm going to go with the Ravens on who I think will miss the playoffs next cycle or next season.
Mr. Maniac, he picked the Ravens in the AFC and the Chicago Bears in the NFC. Who's your one team, AFC, NFC, that do not make the playoffs next season?
The Ravens were my pick for the AFC also. Just looking at that division, I think it's not so much that the Nips and the Ravens are going to really fall off. I think it's one of those things, I think, where you've looked at the past seasons that we've had in other Maddens. It seems like that division, and they've not really changed players there. They all kind of seem to rotate around who wins. Like it was kind of like us when the NFC South. Like it seemed like everybody around that would win the division, and I think that's what you're going to see. There's going to be one odd man out, or a couple guys. And I just think the Ravens, they've got an older running back with Henry, Derrick Henry, and so you're going to see, like, I think some of those. And then he's got he traded for the older wide receiver Diggs. So I think a lot of those guys you may see regress. It may not be able to get rid of some of those guys. And so, again, giving up what he gave up to get those, it may hurt him in the long run. I think he'll still be competitive, but I do think he misses out. And then looking at the NFC side, the Falcons could be one, again, because of just kind of the way the South does with the rotating of who wins the division and stuff. It seems like Big Hurt is a great player, but also his team is going through there is some young, talented pieces on there, but you've also got some older guys that are on the defense, the edge guys, the safety. Simmons, he's probably not going to be there again, or if he's there, he may regress. So there's going to be some older guys, I think, on his defense where he's really been stout this season. If he's not able to get a replacement for him, it could be a hindrance in the long run. So I think the Falcons are another one that could possibly miss out on the next playoff.
Yep, it wouldn't surprise me, but I think you both hit it on the head that it's really going to be about other teams taking a step forward more than teams taking a step back. All right, 2 more questions. One's a funny, not real question. One is, which team do you think will be the most active in trading prior to the draft this offseason, or does everyone pretty much stay where they are? I don't think anyone ever stays where they are. I think we've already seen most of it, and that was Priest. I don't know why Priest does it. I wish I could get in Priest's head. I love him. I love the guy, but man, I'd love to shake him sometimes too, and just like, what is wrong with you? What are you doing? I think we've seen him make some moves. The 49ers are never silent. He always goes out and makes moves. I'm going to jiggle Dwayne's bells and see if I can't get some of those draft picks for him. But I think you're going to definitely see some movement. You're going to see some movement, I think, in the middle portion of that first round, like 10 to 15. I think you're going to see a couple of guys try to get up at the tippy top. We'll see. I think you always see movement, though. There's no way we don't see movement. Mr. Maniac, you're sort of a guy who likes to get out there and try to make some things happen. Do you see anybody making some big moves?
The Dolphins always seem to kind of be one of the guys that a lot of moves. And in fact, I've traded with him in the past, which now we're in the same division, so I'm probably not going to have a trade partner there like I have in the past. But I think the Dolphins are a good possibility. Titans, I think you've seen Kobe in the past be a really a guy that's very active in trading and stuff from the AFC side. The NFC side, I think you look at probably Colin. Colin is always one of the ones that will be probably really active, making moves, trades, improving. And then I'm going to say a kind of a newcomer, the Vikings. I think Nysonger, I think he's figuring some things out. And I think looking at his roster, I think he has probably one of the better possibilities to maybe improve on his roster. I think in a lot of areas, some that are really important, and that he's done pretty well with average talent. And so if he can improve that talent, I think he's going to be one that'll be active also with the free agency.
D. Wayne, who do you think is going to be active trader there before the draft, and why is it you?
Well, I would like to think I will be. So Nate, keep your phone lines open. I think D-Money is going to be active. I think he's going to look for a quarterback either in the draft or through trades. Like he said, he's got 6 day 2 picks, or day 1 and day 2 picks, if you want to look at it like that, including his own and all 3 of Green Bay's. I think he'll be trying to move some people. I think the Rams with Logan will try to make some moves. He's got the 7th and 10th picks, and if he likes to trade as much as he does in our OMFL Fantasy League, he'll be knocking on everybody's door. I think there's a few teams like Colin. I think Colin could be somebody who makes a move to try to improve that Bears team. And I do think Pittsburgh and the Steelers will. I think he will try to make some moves. I don't think he's going to be very patient in a Steelers rebuild. And I think he'll try to make some moves to make my prediction about him making the playoffs come true.
Yeah, I think it's always fun, interesting offseason. And yeah, it's always hard for me to keep up because I'm in charge of making sure we get everything done. So I never really get to make time, but it's always going to be a ton of fun. Tim says, what do we have to do with people who submit one question at a time? Tim, I don't know, man. I find it funny, though. It was Bill, and Bill is like a stickler for details and for doing everything appropriately. So I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to go full screen on D. Wayne here. For those of you who can't post one message per post so that I can mark them properly, I'm going to buy you this white donged poster that's on the back of D. Wayne's wall. You just can't help but focus like right there on this white dong that's just highlighted. You're going to get that blown up you have to put that on your wall for one season if you continue to make that post. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It's the only punishment I can come up with. But Roger says Texans are always open for trade. They absolutely are. Roger, let's talk. I love to talk to Raj. I never get to talk to Raj here lately. It's been a tough go for it. Guys, it's been a fun playoff. I haven't got to call any games, but I'm hoping this week I can find some games to call. The wife has a massive honey-do list for me right now. We've got a baby's birthday party coming up here in like 2 weeks. We got our second grandbaby's going to be here this week, and so she's got me painting the house and putting up shutters and doing all kinds of work that Nate should not be doing because I do not have a skill set for any of that stuff. So it's been hard to make time to call games, but I'm hoping I can find some playoff games, especially if we get to the championship games, and of course OMFL Bowl number 111 is going to be a ton of fun to call. Any closing thoughts as we wrap things up with a little playoff press pass live? Mr. Maniac, yes, Maniac's like flipping me the finger, but the way of like up or down. Which way are we going here?
Yeah, it's been really a great season. Looking forward to getting the playoffs finished up. I'm excited to kind of get into the new draft. I kind of want to see how it unfolds, how it works.
I agree.
Hopefully, cross. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to get the playoffs finished up, and just a little plug for the Deuce. We're in the second college football playoffs right now, currently over there this in season 2, which would be season 32 altogether. But But anyway, it's been a fun time over there. Guys are really seem like they're having fun and doing a good job, and things are rolling. And we got a couple spots open, so if anybody like, yeah, hey, I might want to try it out or whatever, so hit me up. But really appreciate being on here with you, Nate, and Dwayne. I can't hear you, but I always enjoy Dwayne's insight as well. So I'll have to go back and listen so I can catch all that he said. So, but I really appreciate you and appreciate this league and this community, man.
You sound way better this week. I'm glad that you're feeling better and doing better. And it's cool to have both of you on video. We'll get the audio thing figured out next season. And yeah, check out the Deuce. If you like to play college football, they are the place that you should be playing. Logan in the chat said Rams are making the playoffs. So there's his closing thoughts. Mr. Dwayne, close us out.
Well, I hope Maniac's not too excited. Being the 32nd pick in the draft's not going to be fun for him. So there's my shot, Maniac, OMFL Bowl champion. If you're talking about my thing up here on the door, that's a long story.
No.
That goes way...
Not the door. The oh God, Star Trek, not Star Trek, but the black and white poster. What's that called?
Oh. It's a Star Wars poster.
Star Wars, yeah. His dong is the only thing white on that whole poster. Just like a massive white dong right there in the middle of the poster.
I got you. I was wondering, I was like, there's a long story behind the thing on the door. That goes back to me and Dawson's days. That's a fun one.
Next time you're on, we're going to get the story about you and Dawson.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited to get this playoffs, and I'm excited to get the offseason. I love team building and trading as much as the next guy. And it's right there with playing the game. So I'm excited to see it. I like to see Logan's confidence. That beast he's going up against in the NFC West is like none other. So here's just welcome to the OMFL. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited to get these going. I'm excited to see some games, and let's get it.
You're worst, and I'm using massive air quotes, your worst competitor in Logan's division is a team that was one game away from making the playoffs this year.
That's right.
Good luck, Logan. I mean, it's going to be tough, brother. It is not going to be an easy thing. Also, next show, I need you wearing the Stetson back here. I think we got to have Dwayne wearing a cowboy hat. I've been itching. I'm not a cowboy hat wearer, clearly, but I almost bought me one the other day. I was doing a kind of a country wedding for my Tiffany. Listen to me, my wife's Tiffany's niece, and yeah, I don't know, Nate in a cowboy hat. I think that's gonna have to happen one day. Look, so far so good. Playoffs have been going well. Toilet bowls rolling right along. Awards are getting voted. We got some graphics. We got rule changes. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here. Incentives are going to be due this Sunday, so we're rolling right along. The only thing we have not been able to do is be able to call some games, so I'm hoping that I can make some time to call some games. And I love it. These two guys got on video. It just adds like a little element. Like, yes, you get to see their photo every single time they're on with me, but adding in the video just adds an extra little element. So I appreciate both these guys for doing the sacrifices and making that happen. And that's it. Keep enjoying the playoffs. Let's get ready for the first business season of Madden 25. Let's try to follow the rules as much as we possibly can. For those of you who don't know, you need to go check out the OMFL FPR and make sure that you're on top of it, or you're going to get one of these. You know the rules, and so do I. Say goodbye. Shame. And if you're a priest, go check up the FPR just in general. I think it'll just do you good just to kind of brush up on that little shot against Priest's bow there. Calling 8s. Yes, count them 8s. Cover 2 zones in a row, and then goes, well, I don't understand what. And yeah, I love you, Priest, but come on, you got to do better than that. Guys, I love you. Thank you again. Thank you to these two guys for hanging out with me. Happy OMFL playoff season. Let's get to the business season. Those of us with 3 wins are ready to try to win some games. I'm gaining my confidence back with the revamp passing. I've been using it, and the toilet, but it's like I'm getting my confidence back. I'm ready to win 4 games next season. So let's hurry up and get off to it. Guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Know that I love you. You matter. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.